You are listening to the audio portion of the QB Power Hour webinar series. The QB Power Hour is a free biweekly webinar series for accounting professionals presented by Michelle Long and Dan DeLong, who are very passionate about the industry, QuickBooks, and apps that integrate with QuickBooks. You can find out all the details about the webinar series at qbpowerhour.com. So without further ado, here's Michelle and Dan. Welcome to another QB Power Hour. Today is going to be we're going to be talking about liberating from data entry, or liberation from data entry, the kind of the intro to the automations. And obviously, we're not going to be able to cram all of the data entry and the liberation of such in 1 hour. So this is really just kind of like an overview topic for what we're going to be talking about today. So, Michelle, as if you need no introduction, introduce yourself.
Well, hey, Dan. Well, I mean, as we were just saying, my internet it went down basically before we just got started. So I am on my hotspot today. So to keep things working a little better, I am going to go without the video today. But I am Michelle Long, CPA and Dan, owner of Line for Success. I'm very glad to be supporting Dan on this one today because I think it's awesome and it's a great topic and something that we've been helping accounting professionals with years. And it's amazing how many still need help with this, just because it's hard to do. So Dan, I'm very glad you're doing that. And with that, I'm just going to turn my video off, but I will be here.
All right. That's my name is Dan DeLong, owner of Danwood and School of Bookkeeping now. So this is one of the catalysts for this session today is that change. I worked that into it for nearly 18 years. I co-hosted today also over at School of Bookkeeping. We do a weekly workshop Wednesday, and just about ready to start the 9th edition of the tech editing duties of the QBO for Dummies series. So that should be headed to my desk shortly, and looking forward to seeing you all. If it's some, it has Scaling New Heights coming up in a couple weeks. So a couple details about the QB Power Hour. It's every other Tuesday at 12 noon Eastern. Upcoming webinars. We are working with Makers Hub to become a CPE sponsor. So soon it will be eligible for CPE credit once a month. So we're likely going to have that be the first webinar of the month, because I'm sure at some point there's going to be three webinars in a month, at least twice a year. But you can always check the website out for upcoming webinars, as well as other webinars as well. Those being put on by Ignition, or friends over at Ignition are doing a very great webinar series. I think they're actually having one today, like right after the Power Hour. So if you don't have enough webinar time, you can certainly get your webinar filled today. And if you need the podcasts, the recordings, the downloads of the handouts, they're available at qbpowerhour.com/resources. If you are watching on our social channel, I did put a QR code available for the handouts as well there, if you see it on the Facebook group or anything like that. So anything that we're going to be talking about today, please put those questions in the Q&A if you're attending a live webinar as well. If you are watching on social media, just put those in the chat, and we'll get to them as hopefully as soon as we can. If you have just general comments, please put those in the chat, in the comment section of the various channels that you have to be watching at today. And new for this year, we are simulcasting, right? We're simulcasting on YouTube and various social media platforms as well. If you are watching on the Facebook group, the QB Power user Facebook group with ourselves and Hector, because it is a private group, you do need to offer or allow the gods at Facebook to be able to see your name. So there's a QR code for the application that we're using here today. And we do have a store. So if you want to get your hands on some swag, there is a shirt on there that says accountants aren't into it. little pun there, as well as some recharging or power related swag there as well, like a phone charger and coffee mugs. So you can check that out there as well. So today we're going to be talking about liberation from data entry is really an overview. And the main source here is that we're hoping to introduce, if you're not already, how automation and other accounting tools can scale from the drudgery to strategic services. And Michelle, I know you've been kind of going in and out there, but I do have a topical question for you. When did you see when this trend of things? Because you've been kind of one of those pioneers in the accounting industry where the move to the cloud and the where technology was kind of taking some of the place of some of those things that accountants were doing on a daily basis. When did you see that coming?
It was interesting. I was just talking to somebody about this the other night. Let's see if I can get my video going. I remember back in like 2014, we were doing Freedom in the Cloud webinars. And I remember going across Canada back then, because QBO was expanding across Canada. So that means we'd been doing them in the US for a little while. So we were teaching accountants and bookkeepers 4 Intuit about working remotely with your client and moving to the cloud, 10 years ago. And, along with that was getting away from the data entry. Yeah, I know. A long time. And I'll never forget, somebody actually asked me, why would I want to stop doing the manual data entry? I get paid by the hour. And I was like, oh my gosh, you're missing it. Because with the technology and the automation, when you can do all this so much faster and more efficiently, you can be so much more productive, because there's only so many hours in a day that you can bill for, an invoice. So that's the whole wrong mindset about it and everything. And the technology just making us so much more efficient, and the way it's changed over 10 years. I mean, now it's pulling in your bank statement. It's pulling in the beginning balance or the ending balance and statement date even. I mean, it's come a long way. So
it certainly has. And the fact that it was now 10 years ago, it seems like it was forever ago that, you've been singing this tune. But I mean, but it's now at a point where it's almost like work drive with AI and the way that technology is so rapidly changing. It does seem like it's a tidal wave now. And I remember a conversation that I had with David Leary. I worked with him at Intuit, and we coincidentally left Intuit on the same day, he by choice and me by not choice. And we met up afterwards to kind of like, well, let's just commiserate together for coffee or what have you. And he was saying, he was an evangelist for the app system, the app ecosystem at the time. And he was telling me, if you want to embrace technology, find a few 20 somethings as clients, they are going to drag you, into this because of all the ways that they adopt. Right. So, very similar to what you had said there. So talk a little bit about what we're going to be talking about today. It's really, who is this for? And we'll kind of set the stage on, the type of accounting professional that will be best suited, for what this is, how this is headed, and the impact on productivity and job satisfaction. Some of the things when you say the word drudgery, data entry, manual processes, it doesn't fill people with warm, fuzzy feelings when it comes to, hey, this is going to be, my professional career for the rest of the foreseeable future. When you're talking about this is what you're in for. And then we'll talk about a course that we're launching at School of Bookkeeping, and kind of give an idea of what that looks like and those kind of expectations. So talk about who is this for. this is for. Like, what type of practitioner would benefit from liberation from data entry the most, right? Maybe this is you, right? So there's a big trend that's happening today with the shortage of talent in the accounting space, which means that if you have less of a talent pool to choose from, well, there's things are going to find themselves. You'll need to do more in your practice, but you don't have the time or the capacity to do it. Right? It's a little frustrating, right? And then you're frustrated with the workload itself, realizing that the services that you're provided are just not really fulfilling. And maybe you have some value added service offerings that you want to add, but you really just don't have the time to incorporate them because you're buried in the have to do's, as far as in terms of, in correlation to the want to do's, right? To elevate your business. And I came up, one of my superpowers is being able to correlate something that may be a difficult concept to learn into an understandable and memorable method, right? So when I was thinking about like what would be a good analogy for this, I came up with the Greek mythology of Sisyphus, and it's just fun to say. But if you don't know, Sisyphus in Greek mythology was a king who was a little bit of a trickster. He had a lot of potential. I mean, being a king, you are you do have great potential as a king, but he was a little bit of kind of like Loki in the Marvel and Greek or Viking mythology. He was a little bit of a mischievous, right? And he would do things just for his own thing, and it angered the gods. More importantly, Zeus, which you don't. If there's one god you don't want to tick off, it's Zeus, right? So, the story goes, the mythology goes, is that once he passed into Hades, his eternity was spent pushing a large boulder up a steep hill, which Hades, the Greek god Hades, he convinced the boulder to get away from Sisyphus right at the top of the hill and roll back down the hill. So he spent his eternity just pushing up this huge boulder, not realizing his potential, right? Because in terms of, putting this back to an accounting comparison, that compliance boulder is just, okay, the end of the year. Okay, I've got my W-2s and my payroll tax forms and my tax prepared for my clients. Oh, next year it just rolls down to the bottom of the hill, and I get to go down there and push it back up again. It's really just holding you back because you're just chasing after your client. Maybe you're running a hamster wheel of doing the categorization, just time spent sorting and categorizing the traditional data, and really just beholden to the compliant work. And that's not really the greatest thing for productivity and job satisfaction, because you do have these challenges with the manual process. I remember a leader that I had said something that we didn't like to hear, but it rang true. And it's, if you do what you always do, you'll get what you always get. Right. So if you don't embrace some of these changes that are coming, it's just going to kind of stagnate. Right. And some of those challenges is lost time, the cost of that lost time, risk, right? We're doing all these things manually, which opens up for audit and compliance problems. And then of course the talent that goes with that. I did some research here on this, and the impact on the job satisfaction and productivity. 30 to 40% of time can be reduced with finance automation and the behavioral changes, right? So when you look at things in terms of, I've got people on my team, I've got processes that I do, and I've got programs that I use to do that, right? So it's either a human element, a task, or a tool. Of all of those things, 30 to 40% of the time could be saved there. And then a really interesting factoid I found out was that employee disengagement costs 34% of whatever salary that you're paying, even yourself, right? If you are disengaged and just rotely doing these mundane tasks, that's costing you 34% of the pay of whoever you're paying. So let's launch with our first poll. And since we're talking about disengagement, let's talk about joy. That's what we like. What would bring you more joy? Would it be less time chasing clients? Would it be just the fact that your work-life balance is out of balance? I just need more personal time, or I want to focus on the meaningful services, but I don't know how. Or maybe I just want some additional revenue from the stuff that I am doing. Michelle?
And Dan, I think this is important here is because, everybody always talks about, you need to automate so you've got more time to add more, high value services and everything. That may not be what people want. People may want more time to be with their family. They may want more personal time. They may want more time to travel, may not just be all about growing your business and expanding additional services and stuff. It may be more, personal time and things. And so that is just as equally important and valid, as the other thing. So, I think that is important, is to realize what are your goals for your business. And any way you look at it, though, giving you more time to do what's important to you, whether it's business wise or personal wise or whatever, I think, that's just a win-win. So
let me go ahead and share the results. It looks pretty spread across the board there. About 39% of all of those things. It's almost like 30 to 40%, just what we were saying there about the lost time there. Funny how that works out. And this is something that clients are asking for, right? I read this article, this blog article about an individual who went on a skiing trip and asked his colleague, who are all entrepreneurs and in the business space, what they thought about their accountant. And like this is some of the things and some of the common themes, and he just, put them on verbatim, on the blog article, was charging me by reference to how much time she spends doing stuff. Like, I would much prefer to pay for the job that's doing. Really, clients really don't care if it takes 4 or 6 hours. They just want the job done. And that's a common theme that we hear from clients. Not being proactive, and not giving advice unless they ask for it. This person was using a program called Cash Flow, and they just didn't have the time to be able to tell them how to get that value out of that application. So, and likely it's because they're spending their time on the drudgery side of things. They just don't have bandwidth to be able to have those conversations and show them how to read these tea leaves. And then same thing, same theme, working too close to deadlines, send all the information ahead of time, but they wait until the deadline in order to do that. Probably because there's some other compliance work like reconciling the bank accounts and those types of things that need to wait for a certain time period, that need to happen before those compliance things can actually be done because they've got a deadline. All right. So we're going to talk a little bit about what it is that we're doing over at School of Bookkeeping, about what this will look like here. And so the modules themselves are going to be broken up, and this is going to be I think the technical learning term is it's a hybrid cohort, in which, the participants and we are going to be going through this, together. So very much similar to what we do here on the QB Power Hour, that we'll have, a live session like this, but we'll also be covering some content, but also having a feedback session, as well for deeper dive questions. But it will be broken down into three major areas: discovery, evaluation, and then transformation or practice transformation. So we're going to discover additional automation and services and align them, with your practice. Some of these things may not resonate with you, but you might have, a use for them, with your clients. You'll be able to evaluate them and implement them into your practice, which will then make that clearing so that you can decide, okay, well, I'm going to add some more additional services, or I'm just going to use that time to buy back some of the time that's in my day, right? Because now automation is doing the heavy lifting for you. So let's talk a little bit about the discovering, and positioning automation as a tool, right? To leverage and create opportunities for you. So first thing, and this will kind of unpack this, is that you need to map out your current workflows. So if you don't know what your current workflows are, you don't know which of those could be automated. It makes sense, right? Of the things that when you're looking at, well, I reconcile a bank account, I do this, that, or the other thing, but really just getting into the nitty gritty and determining what is a manual process for all of those, and what potentially could be an automation tool to be able to fill that gap. Am I doing a lot of copying and pasting? If I'm doing that, maybe there's a tool that allows me to do that. Am I uploading or am I needing to upload a lot of transactions into QuickBooks or some other tool? Maybe there is a tool that will allow you to do that. So you'll identify what workflows can be automated, and then identify potential new service offerings. So before we get in, go further, we'll have another poll. This one is, in what ways do you find that technology helps you? And where did the polls go? I have like 14 different screens open. So there we go. We're going to launch that one. So what do you find? Because I'm going to share another, this is actually the Intuit accounting technology poll that was done last year. What benefits do you find new technology helps you? Is it increased revenue from efficiency, greater trust in the data because it's kind of automated, and you know where that data is coming from? Or maybe it's increased revenue streams from the tools that you are using, or being able to add those more services, improving those employee retention. Now we're talking about that disengagement component as well. Michelle, was there any? Go ahead.
I was just going to add, one of the things though about new technology, we're talking about how new technology help us, but one of the things that's frustrating and or overwhelming for, I think, a lot of accountants and bookkeepers is there's so much new technology. And when I want to do something, there's so many of them out there. How do I know which one's right for me and for my practice? And how do I choose from them? And it can become overwhelming. What technology do I mean? Which is best for me and for my firm? And how do I, dig through the myriad of options out there? It can be overwhelming.
Yeah. Yeah. Anybody who's going to Scaling New Heights in a couple weeks, when you go to the vendor floor, it's this wall of technology and innovation that everything has a bright, shiny object. In the, if all of the booth participants were to be believed, they all would solve your problems. It's really a matter of, well, what specific problems, and going in to that vendor hall, right? With, if you've done your homework beforehand of like, okay, these are all of the workflows that I really have challenges with. This is what I'm looking to solve for. That's super helpful when it comes to, okay, I need an application that will do this. And you can actually articulate the problem with the service provider at that point and they will 9 times out of 10, when you have a clearly defined problem assigned or that you can define for them, they'll be straight up and say, this will work great or it won't. And that's the part of the challenge.
Yeah. I couldn't agree with you more, Dan, that that's the key. Is you need to clearly identify your workflows and what your needs are prior to getting in there. And that goes back to the challenge is, okay, if I'm new, trying to get away from doing manual processes and automating things, what are my workflows? What should my workflows be? And that's where, some people do need some help with this. That's why, when I saw what you were doing with your course, I'm like, this is awesome, because people do need help with doing that. So I think that's great that you're doing that.
Well, yeah, let me go ahead and end the poll and I'll share the results. So, top one on the list there, increased revenue from efficiencies over 52%. So being able to buy back some of that wasted time is definitely, one of the top feedbacks there. And, it's a Intuit Accountant Technology Survey, asked the same question. And, lo and behold, the top one that we're getting here today is the top one, that a top benefit of new technology, for that survey. So consistent across the board there. But increased revenue from efficiency, greater trust, was 38%, increased revenue streams, 36%. Who doesn't like a little extra cash flow in the situation when you're using a tool that works? Improving that employee retention, 33% there. So when we talk about discovering new challenges, and you brought a great point, there's so many to choose from. Here are some of the things that we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about integrated technology, and the left side of this is the tools that we're going to be talking about as far as the making that clearing. And then we're going to be talking about new service offerings and introducing, different educators who have spent the course of their life creating content and, in courses to be able to create those services. So like if you wanted to get involved with cash flow advisory, right, but don't know where to begin, we're going to be able to make that introduction for you with cash flow Mike, right? He's going to be part of this cohort as well. We'll have that, when it comes time to talk about that, he'll come in and talk about an introduction of what it is that he's able to do. And if you've ever read his books, 7 minutes to an advisory conversation, it's a phenomenal way to take the data that you're looking at and turn it into that high value conversation with your client. Maybe it's paid diagnostics or doing a discovery or technology consultation. Now that you know all these tools, maybe you just want to be, the type of individual that would talk to a potential client and say, hey, we can automate some of these tasks for you. I've done it for my firm. Here's some of these tools that would actually work for you. But we'll run the gamut of, Salesforce integrate or sales connectors, integrators from different platforms, online sales platforms, getting them into QuickBooks. I see that on the Facebook group constantly. How do I get into my QuickBooks? And the, so spend management, the things that you can't necessarily do inside of QuickBooks holistically, and I have to go outside of QuickBooks in order to do that. Who are the best in class of there? Because we've got Melio, there's Corpay, there's Bill.com, there's Relay, File, Makers Hub, all of those, those run the gamut of, well, which is the best for me? And if you have a marketplace to basically choose from, okay, well, Melio would work for this client, but really, Makers Hub will be better for this other client, right? You'll know which one to recommend for which one, right? Not the one size fits all type of thing, right? And then we'll work on to evaluating and implementing. So evaluating those automation tools that would save time, money, and allow you, to provide additional revenue opportunities as well. So we'll talk about the tool selection, what it takes to incorporate that, and how would be best to implement. And now that you've got, the foundation of here's all the things that we could potentially discover here. Here's a path or workflow to implement that. Now we've got automation doing the heavy lifting. What do we do next, right? How do we incorporate new value added services to that, right? So the process in a nutshell is launching with your new clients, bringing on new clients, because, that's probably the hardest thing that, when it comes to change, when, with your clientele, what's the strategy? You're always thinking of, okay, here's my book of clients in my head. How am I going to get them to transition to this application? Right. Well, don't start with them. You take a page out of Intuit's book, right? Because anytime that there's a new feature or a functionality, they put it in brand new subscriptions first. And those subscriptions are going to be the beta testers or the guinea pigs, so to speak. And they all love to be beta testers and guinea pigs for everything that's in QuickBooks. But that will be, when you don't have the history of the data and things like that inside of QuickBooks company file, bogging down incorrect processes or something that might affect this new feature, do it with the new clients first. So you just really would want to roll that out with new clients. Transition, then there's now a transition option with existing clients. And then you would refine this process and repeat it, right? So that you can get some learning and then bring that into your newest clients, as well as being able to leverage and transition that to existing clients. Let's talk a little bit about the specific topics that we're going to be discussing, and then we'll work on going to some next steps. So we're going to have weekly content sessions that are going to be 60 to 90 minutes in length, where we'll talk about the concepts, and this is going to be a group activity, group session, not just a lecture type of thing like like this. But, and then we'll also have a weekly Q&A feedback, right? So, at least 2 times a week, when we do have these sessions, we are going to have a content session where we talk about the concepts, and then a Q&A session to take a little deeper dive. There will be a community associated with this course that will be just everybody being able to talk and work with each other within that community. So here's the module listings as we have it today. So the liberations from data entry, that's kind of what we're talking about here today. We'll take a little more of a deeper dive into some of these concepts, how to embrace solutions for efficiency, significant time creation, highlighting some of these solutions and services. So we'll go through each one, bit by bit, and talk a little, give an overview of each of them, and leverage some more resources that we already have on School of Bookkeeping, diversifying the revenue sources and those options that are available from that. And then now we've got this clearing that's this data insight, right? The evolution to advisory. Advisory is what I see today as a new buzzword, right? So we're not, it's an umbrella word of advice, right? Like, like what are you, and then what are you doing with that advisory service, right? And really what it boils down to is it's a valuable added, it's more meaningful services that you're bringing to your client more so than the compliance boulder that I'm just bringing this up to the hill. Because as we've talked about, Michelle, over the past, couple months, that compliance piece is fighting for the cheapest, right? I mean, as you really boil down to with the QB Live, assisted discussion that we had, the generative AI with Intuit Assist, entering into the mix. All of these things are kind of clamoring and fighting for that compliance thing. And most of those clients who are happy with compliance work are not looking for the value added services that you might be able to offer because you're not having that kind of conversation with your client. Michelle, you came off video, so you got something to say.
You're going to get me a rant mode here. Well, the problem with all of this on the compliance piece, and if your firm is still doing, a lot of the bookkeeping, especially a lot manually and everything, you're now competing with, the QBI bookkeeping stuff. But not only that, but you're competing with venture capital, private equity money going into these huge firms like Bench and Pilot and others. I mean, because there's other large firms that are doing this as well, but they are creating their own automated systems and everything. And they are going after the compliance work as well, because that's being automated. AI is automating that with the bank rules, and we're seeing the pulling in of the bank statements and the ending statement balance. I mean, it's going to be reconciling itself pretty soon. So we've definitely got to get away from that. Or if you're doing that, you have to be automated and super efficient. You cannot be doing it manually because the prices are going so low. You're not going to be profitable if you're not efficient. You have to be super efficient, and that comes from the technology and everything. So it's important to realize that it has changed. It's only getting even worse. So you just, it's so important, Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, I mean, eventually, right? I mean, and we're going to have a discussion probably in July, where we'll be talking about the changes that have been happening. You mentioned about the auto reconciliation function, and I see a lot of buzz about that in the Facebook group. It's the bank feeds is a great example. I mean, those transactions are automatically coming down. The rules, you can start to automate how those things are actually coming in, right? So in the grand scheme of things, if you don't want to, you don't necessarily have to touch those transactions, right? So they're just coming in, like the name implies, the bank is feeding those transactions into QuickBooks, and through automations and through your expertise, you're categorizing them, appropriately. Now the statement is being fetched. That's the state of where we are now. A lot of those statements are coming in automatically, and now what QuickBooks is doing is it's taking the end date and the ending balance and pre-filling those for you, so that in the grand scheme of things, if all the transactions are coming into the bank feed, bank already knows about that. The statement is really just a reconciliation of those transaction amounts on those dates. It's now just a matter of going through and clicking finish, right? And making sure that you don't have duplicates, right? So now you're just managing the data that is coming in automatically, as opposed to entering that data from a more manual process. That's just one example of what's been how technology is changing this whole experience.
You know,
You're gonna add something.
Yeah, I am, because the thing of it, you know, we've been talking about this stuff, like you said, for a lot of years. For over 10 years, we've been talking about automating and doing this and everything. And you see other people helping the larger firm to do this and implement this. Some people are like, oh, well, it's no big deal, I can do it. You see places like Woodard, Joe Woodard, an arm of his Woodard, I don't know, Woodard Services, Woodard Enterprise. I don't know what the official name is, but a part of Woodard helps firms implement CAS, CAS. It helps larger firms. It helps smaller firms. I mean, they have programs for consulting with and training. And I'm sure the larger firms especially are paying tens of thousands of dollars, and those programs that they have cost a lot of money and things like that. So there is a need in the marketplace to help people to do this, because not as easy as it sounds, because of the technology and how much is out there and everything. And so, having something like this can help people go through it, bring it all together for you, as opposed to trying to find it and learn it all on your own and stuff. So, I mean, I think this is a great resource we have here. So I think it's awesome.
Thanks. And it allows people, like, technology is the great equalizer of allows, people, small mom and pops, to compete and do the same thing that the large juggernauts do, right? Like when you think of, the Amazons and the Walmarts that are out there, how they come into a town and, oh my goodness, the hardware stores, the Home Depots are trying to run out all of the mom and pop hardware stores. There is still a space for that. And technology allows the small guys, the little guys, to do some of the same processes that the big guys do, because they have this whole juggernaut of resources behind them. This is the tool to leverage. And then, our roadmap here is, one of the modules is going to be crafting your own personalized roadmap, right? So which of those things makes most sense to start to implement? Do you have to do them all? No, you don't have to do them all. But you can certainly pick and choose which one makes most sense to you. So overall, it's going to be about 12 weeks, and 30 hours. So, it's not just like, oh, okay, we're going to be able to do this in a day or so. So it is something to kind of buckle in and buckle up for, right? So if you want to be a part of that premier cohort, there is a registration link to be able to do that. I will send that to you if you like to. You can click on it if you downloaded the slides. There's a link there as well as on our landing page as well. But we're just by registering for interest, because what we're going to need to do is figure out what day works best for that initial cohort and who has the availability to do that near the end of the year. And hopefully we'll get it started before the end of the year. And, but we'll give you an automation guide, really just 10 types of accounting automation tools, that allow you to save time, right? And there'll be links for that. So you don't necessarily need to go through the course in order to do that. Sandy asked a really great question. What's the course going to cost? I don't know yet. Right. So we're still fine tuning that as far as the value of what it is. On one end of the spectrum, I'm thinking, pay what you feel like it is of value. And then on the other, there's there's 12 weeks that we're going to be talking about, that's going to take up, our time and resources this first time. So, we don't know yet, what that is. We're still formulating, as far as the cost is concerned. But you can put in your interest for it. And if it makes sense to you, great. Doesn't, that's fine too. So, going to launch that last poll here. Would you like to participate in that initial cohort? And I lost the poll again. Where'd it go? Do you see it, Michelle? Can you launch?
Just 1 second. Let me click more poll.
There they are.
And poll number 3.
Yep.
I launched it.
There you go.
There we go.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anything that you saw, Michelle, in the chat or the QA as I was rambling on?
No, I did see somebody made a comment about having to fix mistakes from AI. And, just like with anything, garbage in, garbage out, you have to set up and train things properly and stuff like that. So yes, AI can make mistakes. We've all heard some of the funny ones from it, but yes, AI can make mistakes and they can categorize things wrong too. And so yes, you do have to watch that and everything, to monitor that. So that was a question there.
Awesome. Yeah, I put the link for the slides in the chat. You can access that. It's got the handouts for today, as well as the links to be able to register for the cohort or just download the automation guide if you see fit there. So I'll follow up with the folks that answer the poll question to make sure that they have those links as well. And close out. Go ahead.
I'm just curious, how many of you still have manual processes within your firm or have clients that are still doing things manually? Or how many of you know that you need to implement technology and improve your workflows in areas? I think that's probably like almost everybody. Oh, look at all these hands.
Yeah. Seeing all the hands.
I think most of us, what happens is a lot of us are like, oh my gosh, this is so inefficient. We need to change how we're doing this. Oh, this doesn't work well. We need to change this. We need to change that. But like you said, Dan, we're so busy with that boulder that you're like, okay, we'll put that on our to-do list. That's item number 193. After we get the boulder up, oh, wait a minute. The boulder went down and now we're starting all over with the boulder again. So you're constantly fighting the compliance boulder and not able to address some of those, even though you may recognize areas that need attention and improvement and change. It's hard to get it done.
Yeah, I see from the chat. Christina was talking about, I'm fighting the old schoolers. It's exhausting. I'm a little curious about that. To find out a little bit more details about that. Is it the old schooler's client, or is it the old schooler practitioner? Or is it a mix of both? I'm wondering.
Right.
Yeah,
And that. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, Michelle also said downloading the automation guide registered for the cohort. That's true. It does register for the cohort as far as the interest is concerned, but that will send you a link once you do that to download the guide. It'll send we have some automation that allows that to automatically allow you to get in and do that.
Yeah, and here was a great one. Money Thumb is a lifesaver, and that's just one good example. A tool like Money Thumb, which allows you to convert those PDF statements into a file so that you can import things into QuickBooks. And that's where I would tell people there's no reason you should ever have to manually import bank transactions. You can, even if all you have is a PDF statement, there's a tool that allows you to import that stuff. There's no reason for manual data entry. And that's where, though, everybody attending this webinar today and joining us on our Facebook group and stuff, you all are already way ahead of the group just because you join us and you learn about these tools, like MoneyThumb and things like that from this webinar and, courses like this and stuff like that. So I think that's great. And, Dan, with you taking your wealth of knowledge from going to Scaling and Connect all the time and the conferences and talking to the vendors and all that, by you having that wealth of knowledge that you can help share with everybody, I think that's very helpful.
Yeah. Cause I mean, you think of, just something like inventory management, right? I mean, there's never a one size fits all, when it comes to a client that needs to manage their inventory, because sometimes it could be handled inside of QuickBooks. Sometimes it needs an outside app to do that. Sometimes desktop QuickBooks might be the solution for them, but then those other workflows that feed into, that whole thing and service to that, you gotta know which workflows are connected to which workflows and what might be impacted by adding a technology or taking it away. And I think that ultimately boils down to where this industry is sitting right now, is that the biggest challenge, even going back to, QuickBooks DOS, right? The biggest challenge that we end up having in the, getting data into meaningful reports, which is the whole goal of your software, has always been and always kind of lied that the root cause is there's a disconnect between the data entry and the work. And what that boils down to is, in the example of, an invoice, I send an invoice out of my QuickBooks and, and then they mail me a check and then I deposit that into my bank account and then the bank feed brings that in and I put that to income, right? So now I've disconnected the workflow and haven't followed it through to its, step 1, step 2, step 3, conclusion of where it will sit into the bank account. And then I can go ahead and reconcile that. I put it into my bank account and then categorized it to the revenue. God forbid this was actually a credit card transaction from Square or something. And there's some fees associated with that. So now that amount doesn't even match your invoice. But that's really where the breakdown tends to happen inside of QuickBooks, is that there's a disconnect between the workflow and the workload to, the data that's in there. Would you agree? I mean, you pretty much built an entire YouTube channel off of one big undeposited funds.
I know, right? Yeah. No, those are great spot on comments. I just love them. And I've seen some comments in here about their clients that are older, get like over 80 or just older ones that don't trust automation and things like that. So I have an embarrassing story to share. I am of a certain age and I too can be afraid of things sometimes. This time it wasn't even technology. The light bulb was working out on the over the your stove. I got the microwave. So it's the light bulb under the microwave that goes over the stove. And I just put up with it for a long time. I assumed it was going to be kind of hard to open the microwave and replace that light bulb, right? So I just put it off. When I finally did it, I was embarrassed because of how easy it was, right? So sometimes that's what we have to realize with our clients. They don't realize this could be easy. It just seems hard and scary. And I do have a client that she used to pay me to drive over to her house to print her W-2s and 1099. She had an all prepared, all ready to go. She was just afraid to submit and print. This was back when we weren't e-filing too much yet, but she still wouldn't even print that without me being there with her on her side. And I was trying to teach her how to do remote access, and she wouldn't try that. So I went over there, we printed the W-2s, 1099s, and all that. And then I sat there with her and I said, look, can you open your email that I sent you? Oh yeah, here it is. Can you click that link? Oh yeah, there it is. yeah, watch this. And she was on her computer right there. And I was on my laptop right next to her at her desk or office, whatever. And she could see how I could do remote access with her computer and how easy it was. All she had to do was click that link. And she's like, really? That's all it was? So sometimes it's just they're scared. When you say new technology, I want you to do this. I want you to upload that, Dan. I want you to upload this for me. I'm like, oh shit, what's that mean? I don't know how to upload something. I've never done that. I've never changed the light bulb in the microwave like that. It's going to be really hard. I've never uploaded something. I've never done it. It's scary. So if you can step back for a minute, I know it takes a little more time. If it's the client you want to keep, if they're technology resistant and it's a PETA client anyway, then maybe you don't even want to keep them. If it's a good client that you want to keep, take the time to hold their hand and show them how it works and walk them through the first time. And it may be perfectly fine after that. And then you may have a convert because that's probably all they need is somebody to hold their hand and see them through the first time. And then that's tremendous.
My mother is a technophobe, but she insists on bringing new technology into her life, but then has the story of me and technology don't mix. And so it's a constant put and take when it comes to that sort of thing. And she has this mindset with certain things that I'm just constantly saying the same thing over and over. Like your Apple phone and your Windows PC are never going to be on the same speaking terms unless you have all in the Apple ecosystem. But then that is going to be a bigger challenge of you trying to figure out how to scroll up or down because everything's reversed, right?
Yeah. So just somebody else there said too, just take the time and encouragement. It helps build relationships. Yeah. And that's true. If it's a client that's worth keeping, if not, maybe it's time to look at which clients you want to keep and move forward with. And it's a good time to get rid of some of those clients that are PETA.
And I took, I did Hector Garcia's Reframe, which I would definitely recommend to anyone who's kind of in this boat of, okay, how do I reimagine my firm in this day and age? It's great, some great learnings out of that. But he said something in one of his guiding principles of his alt accountants and Reframe conference is you automate workflows, but you humanize relationships. And by being able to automate these workflows, it gives you the capacity to be able to bring more humanization to those relationships with your clients. And that's what people value. They as we saw with the client feedback, right? They don't care how long it takes you to do something or they don't value, what they might see as wasted time. Like, well, you're just taking time so that you can bill me more. But if they hold a value to those meaningful parts of the relationship, then, a lot of times they just don't care what it costs, right? Because that is invaluable to them. They can't put a price on it. Michelle, what do you think?
I think that's a great comment. And I think you're spot on. I was looking at some of the comments over there about them registering and everything, but I think you're right. Adding value for our clients and being that valuable advisor and having that relationship. I mean, that's a great thing from Hector. I love it. The relationship is the most valuable.
Exactly. And that's what we value in life anyway, is those relationships. We don't care about the bank feed. We would rather, what does that mean?
Relationship. Yeah.
They cannot.
Not the same with AI.
Right. All right. Well, we appreciate you joining us today on the Power Hour. I really appreciate the technology working with us today so that Michelle could join us the whole time. So we really appreciate that. Next time, we are actually going to be Scaling New Heights. So we're going to show a replay of us at Scaling New Heights because both of us have conflict on the live, what would be the live event for Power Hour. So we're going to have a live replay during that time period. So if you're not attending Scaling New Heights, you'll be doing it through osmosis through the Power Hour replay when we play that next week. And we'll have someone from Intuit to join us next time after that to talk about this change in the modern reports after that, which I'm sure you'll want to tune in for that. We appreciate you joining us today, and we'll see you next time on the QB Power Hour. Have a great day, everyone.
We hope you enjoyed listening to the QB Power Hour podcast. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them in our Facebook group. You can find those resources and much more at qbpowerhour.com.